What the heck?
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey everyone, this is Mitch Piper. I am the National Membership Director here at the American Society of Tax Problem Solvers. And welcome to today's webinar on IRS E-Service registration. This is kind of a different webinar. So we're partnering with Emeth from Tax Help Software. So I know that there is a bunch of you guys who came from his list and may not have heard of us before. So I'll just give you a brief overview of what ASCPS is and what we do, and then we'll get started. So ASCPS is a nonprofit professional association, and we teach IRS representation. So we have conferences, seminars, boot camps, webinars just like this one. That's all focused on tax problem resolution. So if that's something that you're interested in or something that you're doing and you want to pursue it further and develop your skills, then you can always give us a call. We have a membership association with about 1,000 members across the United States and even a couple in Canada. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can always look us up online at astps.org or give us a call. And also, we just you may have seen that page that was up before we got started here. We have an event coming up. It's called the Marketing and Technology Extravaganza, which Roger and Tax Help Software will be there. Basically what it is what we got together a group of marketing professionals and different technology companies that are all specifically work with the tax resolution industry. And it's 3 days, all marketing and technology, and it's basically created to help you grow your business. So that's January 18th, 19th, and 20th. And it's Orlando, Florida. So it's nice. If you're in Buffalo like us, we get away for a couple of days anyway. So about this, we are going to do 1 hour of credit, so continuing education. So what we're going to do is we're going to have 2 polling questions. You have to answer them both. You have to be on this call for 50 minutes, and that's it. So as long as you do those 2 things, you'll get the credit. We'll send out the certificates. We have your email address, so we'll send them out probably on Monday. We did email out the handouts, and if you didn't get those, if you go look at the GoToWebinar panel, there should be a handout section. You just click those, and they should download. Those are what Roger will be using. And if you have any questions while we're going, there's also a questions tab on the GoToWebinar panel, and you can type those in there, and then I will give them to Roger at the end, and we'll answer as many as we can. And then also at the end, Roger's actually going to go through a demonstration of his software, the Tax Help software, and that should be good. So, and we'll also be on the line, and we'll go over any questions that you guys have for that. So, all right, Roger, you all ready?
Yep, I'm ready to go.
All right.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Roger Emeth. I'm president and developer of Tax Help Software, what kind of makes me, I guess, kind of an expert or an authority on e-services is our product for the past 5 years has downloaded more transcripts than any other system, including people going directly to the IRS themselves, than anything else. Part of our system is you have to sign up for e-services. So over the past 5 years, and even going a little bit farther back when I had as many as 18 enrolled agents working for me, I've always been the go-to person to get people signed up for e-services. And I have seen kind of some of the craziest circumstances and instances out there for trying to get people in. The IRS definitely is not known for creating a easy-to-use system. So hopefully by the end of this presentation, you'll have all the tools necessary to go in and get your registration if you haven't done so already. And quite frankly, probably 90% of you already have access to e-services. It's just going to be a matter of remembering or finding out what your credentials are and getting started again. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. I just wanted to mention, though, the class is definitely going to go the 50 minutes till about 10 till the hour. We'll take any questions that people have, and then at the very end, it's completely optional. If anybody has questions about our products or transcripts or even further questions on the presentation, let me know, and we can cover that. But again, that's optional. So once we get to about 10 minutes to the hour in the presentation, is completed for the education portion, that'll get you your CE credits. So, all right. A little bit about myself. I'm an enrolled agent. I started managing tax franchises in 2006. Developed Audit Detective in 2010. Again, I had 18 enrolled agents that were killing my payroll. And what they would do is sit in front of the fax machine, wait on transcripts, then they would create these spreadsheets. And in essence, that's what got us started to developing the code back then. It was strictly to reduce our own payroll back in the day. I qualified as an NAEA NTPI Fellow in 2015. Another good program to get in if you're interested in tax resolution. It is a 3-year track though. So what I generally recommend to people is start with ASTPS. That's where the rubber hits the road. You can start doing cases immediately after you take some of their boot camp classes, and then NTPI Fellow is kind of that long-term additional education on top of that. So I worked as a programmer for the largest tax resolution company integrating automated transcript system into workflow programs. They had over 120 people that had access to e-services, and again, I ended up being the go-to person to make sure that they all got logged into the system. And to date, I've been successful in getting all but 3 people logged into e-services. We'll talk a little bit about what can prevent you from getting logged in itself. I assisted in the downloading and research of over 30 million transcripts while working at the resolution firm. And to date, our software has been used to download just under 1/5 of a billion transcripts, 200 million transcripts. So a little bit about the presentation overview. This presentation will cover how to register for IRS E-Services and gain access to the transcript delivery system. It will also teach you, if you have access already, how to get that information. So as I was putting the presentation together, I sketched out a little flow chart for the presentation. And the PowerPoint isn't dead on to the flow chart, but if you get an opportunity to download this flow chart, it's literally a step-by-step process on what to do, who to call, and where to go. Some of the details and some of the information on the flow chart is actually in the presentation itself, like what exact websites to go to and whatnot. But that, if you pretty much follow that flow chart, you should be able to get into e-services at the most within just a couple of weeks here before tax season. Some people will be able to get in today. Some people may take 3 to 5 weeks, and we'll talk about the different scenarios. So, all right, what is IRS E-Services? E-Services is a suite of web-based tools that allow tax professionals and payers to complete certain transactions online with the IRS. The tools include registration services, e-file application, known as the EFINs, transcript delivery, and TIN matching. These services are only available to approved IRS business partners as noted below and not to the public. With that being said, anybody that goes to IRS E-Services can sign up for a basic e-service account. The other thing coming up, and we'll talk about it a little bit more later, is the IRS is about to merge the online payment agreement login, the get transcript login for taxpayers with IRS E-Services. And it's going to allow a little bit better security, but in that case, we're all going to have kind of the same login credentials, and then you'll have kind of different paths to the different tools that you'll have access to. So, features for the tax professional. Again, you can sign up for the EFIN here. You can close an EFIN or disassociate from an EFIN if you already have an EFIN. You can confirm the number of e-filed returns under an EFIN. IRS recommends that you change or you check your EFIN once a year to check for EFIN spoofing. If your firm only did 200 tax returns and you go in and check your EFIN's numbers and it turns out that there's 1,000 that have been done, you're going to want to contact the IRS and let them know you believe somebody is doing returns under your EFIN. The transcript delivery system is probably what I consider the most beneficial feature for tax professionals. The online payment agreement under POA is a new system. It's kind of out now, but it'll actually get released a little bit more where it falls under the e-service umbrella here in the very near future. But it'll give you the ability to go on and do online payment agreements for generally cases under $50,000, and in some cases the IRS just expanded that to cases under $100,000. And we're still getting more details on the $50,000 and the $100,000 fresh start streamlined agreement. So there should be more on that probably in a webinar in a future date. And also, this existed at one time with the IRS. It went away. They've been testing beta tests over the past couple of years, but it looks like maybe 2017 will be the year it comes back. The ability to do online 2848 and or 8821. That would give us the ability, if a customer came in the office and you had access to transcript delivery system, you would be able to go into the e-service system, do your authorization online, and pull transcripts literally the first day your customer walks in the office. Currently, it takes the IRS 3 to 5 business days to process a 2848 or 8821, but be advised, we're headed into one of the times of the year where it gets extended a little bit. 8821s and 2848s are what is it, at the end of the year near Christmas. It can take a little bit longer than 3 to 5 business days, primarily because everybody at the IRS starts to burn off their leave, and it's a staffing issue. It can also be delayed above the 3 to 5 business days at the beginning of tax season, the end of tax season, and anytime there's an extension deadline, because that's when their system is most taxed. So it just kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of where to, or the time frames involved, and why online POAs will be such a big deal coming up. All right, the transcript delivery system allows users to request and download IRS transcripts directly to your computer without calling anybody. The taxpayer must give permission to the tax professional with a signed 8821 or 2848. Okay, 4506s, 4506Ts do not apply to the transcript delivery system. You can use them to get access to transcripts, but only via phone or mail. So, 3 scenarios for getting transcript delivery system access. All of these require the first step, which is create an IRS E-Services account if you don't already have one, and one of the 3 following. The first one is you can sign up for an EFIN and have a minimum of 5 e-file returns in any given year. That's the most common way that people have access to e-services. However, a few years ago, there were a lot of tax attorneys that never did tax returns, but they did a lot of resolution. So they went to the IRS and said, can you please give us a workaround where we don't have to do the e-file returns? Attorneys generally won't do the tax returns because they are then on the hook for confidentiality. They no longer have attorney-client confidentiality if they do the return. So they never did the 5 e-file returns. So approximately 5-6 years ago, the IRS came up with a workaround, and what that says is, as a Circular 230 preparer, which is an EA, CPA, or attorney, you sign up for an EFIN as a sole proprietor under your SSN. And in that instance, they will give you access to the transcript delivery system without any e-file returns. Also, if you already have an EFIN and you have access to e-services, I would also recommend going in and applying for the EFIN as a sole proprietor. Again, you don't ever need to do a return with it. It was strictly as a workaround for the e-service access. And that way, if you end up selling your business or leave a business that you're under, if for any other reason, no matter where you go, if you have transcript delivery access under your social, it never goes away. I get calls from CPAs, EAs all the time that have left a firm, they lose transcript delivery access, and it can take upwards of 4 to 6 weeks to get a new EFIN applied for if it's during tax season when it's really busy. So I recommend everybody at their first opportunity to go ahead and do it under that, because you'll always have access for it. All right, have someone who has access to transcript delivery system assign someone as a delegated user. So in that case, somebody would be able to assign somebody access to their account, but they don't need an EFIN actually assigned to them. So think if you have 6 employees working for you under your EFIN, you would be able to assign each one of them delegated user access, and they would be able to access any clients that you have a POA on under your CAF, or they could get an 8821 for them individually under their own CAF. And I'll explain what the CAF number is here in an upcoming slide. Okay, this is important. It seems kind of basic, but I'm going to spend a little time on it because inevitably after I do one of these classes or talk to somebody, they call me up and tell me that they're having problems with these services. And I always tell them, make sure you're using Internet Explorer when you're using these services, whether you're signing up for it, downloading, changing a password, anything. And the reason is, I'll go through the script here and then we'll talk about it. The e-services is an antiquated, cumbersome system with many quirks that make it difficult to use. The IRS notes e-services is compatible with Internet Explorer 6 to IE 11 only. Many users still try to use Edge, which is kind of Internet Explorer in the new Windows 10, Chrome, Safari, or Firefox. We have had multiple THS users use non-approved browsers try to change their passwords. They completed the process, but the new password does not save, and they lock themselves out trying to use the new password. Also, transcripts will not print from TDS using Chrome. Among other things, the pages actually don't render right, so you can actually be missing text. But there's a lot of problems that you can get from not using Internet Explorer. So just something to keep in mind. Don't start it in Chrome. Don't start it in Safari. I'm not saying that the others won't work, but there is a huge problem with some people that they just can't get past screens. They'll hit save, it never saves, and just things don't render correctly in some of the web browsers. Okay. Determine if you already have an e-service login. All right. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is go to irs.gov, go to For Tax Pros, go to the Login or Register under e-Services on the left side, and click on Register. You can complete the form. You're going to need your AGI from one of the past 2 years to confirm your identity. After clicking Accept, it will tell you if you already have an account. Okay? If you don't already have an account, you continue to register, but you'll need to wait 7 to 10 days for a confirmation letter once your registration is complete to go to the next step. You can also call the e-help desk at the IRS at the number listed and ask them if you have an account. I recommend doing the first step first because it literally will take you less than 5 or 10 minutes to fill that out, and you could actually be on hold with the e-help desk from anywhere from 5 minutes to 30 minutes or longer in some cases. So the quickest way is just go in, put your username in. It will not give 2 accounts to the same social. So it's basically tied to your social security number is what will give you access. Okay. If you already have an account, the only way to recover a username is to call the IRS e-help desk. So if you already know that you have an account but you can't remember what that username is, just call the e-help desk at 1-866-255-0654. And again, I think you need to have your AGI from one of the last 2 tax returns, but the questions vary. Okay, but I would have them before I contact them. If you can't find them, call them and see if they've got some alternative questions. Once you have the username, you can now go in and recover a forgotten or lost password. Okay, in that case, you go to IRS E-Services login page and click on Forgot Password. Okay, warning, you will lock yourself out of Transcript delivery system for a week to 10 days waiting on a confirmation letter from the IRS. So inevitably, I get users that use our system, but they'll call us up and say, I forgot what my password was, so I clicked on Forgot Password, and now I can't get transcripts, and why not? And the reason is when you click on Forgot Password, they make you reconfirm your account with your identity, and the only way that they're currently doing that is by sending a letter to your address. The new system, you'll be able to reset a password much faster, generally within just a couple minutes if you have a cell phone registered in your name, and I'll talk about that here shortly. Okay. Once you go ahead and click on Forgot Password, you can reset your password and/or PIN. Keep in mind, PINs are 5 digits. So when people call me and ask any idea what my PIN would be, in my experience, because it's 5 digits, people use a zip code as their PIN, or the first 5 or the last 5 of their social. What the PIN is used for is to confirm submissions in e-services when you're applying for EFINs and verifying some of your identity information in the system. It's just kind of an extra password protection feature, and most people forget it. Okay. Now, if you still have a username and a password, but you haven't logged in, say, the past 6 months with the IRS, if you try to log in, the IRS will say your password is expired. You must change your password. In the cases where your account is expired, you'll have to go through basically the forgot password where you wait on the 7 to 10 business days for the letter to be sent to confirm your identity. So just keep that in mind, that don't wait to do any of these steps until the day you need a transcript. I would do them today. Okay. The new IRS registration e-service procedures, right? In September 2016, the IRS announced the biggest change to its e-service system since it was launched in 2004. The changes are being implemented to enhance the security of the system due to the cyber hacking issues that have evolved over time. This presentation has been updated with the latest information. Originally, the IRS announced October 24th, 2016 as the official launch date, but on October 14th, 10 days prior to the launch, they suspended the launch until sometime in 2017 to give organizations time to adapt to the new system. So after this new system is launched, sometime after the first of the year, the IRS is going to have different registration requirements. But what it is the reason I'm still covering the old is anybody going through this presentation should take the 10 or 15 minutes now to go in and apply for e-services under the old system and get it going. If you decide to wait until sometime in 2017, you're still going to be able to go in through these processes, but some of the screenshots will have changed and the process will be slightly altered. And at that point, we'll probably do another presentation. Okay. There is a new re-verify identity procedure. So whether you are currently using e-services or have an e-service login, or you just sign up for e-services today, you're going to have to follow the second step. Okay? So on November 28th, 2016, the IRS advised anyone who accesses e-services in the transcript delivery system that they need to re-verify their identity by creating a Get Transcript account, or if you already have a Get Transcript account, log in and complete the updated security questions. This is also to newly created e-service accounts. What the Get Transcript system is that is the interface. A couple of years ago, it got hacked. The IRS took it away. It was where a taxpayer could go on and get their transcripts directly online immediately. It didn't really get hacked. What apparently happened was Blue Cross Blue Shield got hacked. The hackers ended up getting all the socials, the dependents' names from the insurance policies, addresses, and just all kinds of information about the individuals. They used all that information, the hackers did, to go to irs.gov and basically use real information to create or reset passwords on those accounts. And so the IRS system was relatively secure, but again, if somebody has the answers to all the security questions, which they had from the hack of the healthcare system, they got in. So the IRS took that system offline and they came up with a new Get Transcript login. And part of that login method is you need a cell phone in your name. There's a couple of options on top of that now in case you don't have a cell phone in your name, but the new Get Transcripts has been up for about 6 weeks and is much more secure because they actually send you a text message every time you log in. Okay? So one of the things you're going to need to do as an e-service user, whether you've been using it for 10 years or if you just started today, is go in and do a Get Transcript account. If you haven't opened a Get Transcript account, I recommend that you use the same username that you signed up for e-services with. However, when the IRS melds these systems together sometime in 2017, your e-service login is going to trump all the other logins. Okay? So if you are unable to validate online for Get Transcripts, you can use the alternative method and call the eHelp desk at the number listed below. Now understand though, in that method, they are going to have to send you that dreaded confirmation letter, which takes 7 to 10 days. Okay? If you accessed or created your Get Transcript account after May 2016, you are already validated and no further action is required. So I'm constantly using all the different systems at the IRS. I updated my Get Transcript account since May 2016, and I got my letter from the IRS yesterday. Of course, it went to my old address because I moved in the past year, and even though I updated it with them, they still sent it to the old address, and the letter I got was, you must re-verify your identity to keep using e-services. So if you currently use e-services and you get a letter saying you need to go in and validate, that's where that letter's coming from. Anybody that has access and has used e-services in the past year, that's what that letter's from. So presumably, if you're on this presentation, though, you haven't logged in a year, or so it may not apply, but just keep an eye out for that letter. If you get it, that's all it's trying to tell you. Okay, the new registration and Get Transcript registration. Here's what new users need to get started. This will replace the current e-service procedure in the near future, and also this is what you'll need for Get Transcripts. You'll need a readily available email address because they're going to send you an email confirmation. You need your social security number, and you need your filing status and address from your last filed tax return. Your personal account number from one of the following: a credit card, home mortgage loan, home equity loan, or home equity line of credit, or car loan. The IRS does not retain this data. They just check it against the credit reporting services. It's a new service that Experian and Equifax are now offering. What they do is, that way the person that needs the verification doesn't really get any useful information, but Equifax and them are using these securities to basically verify that you have one of these numbers. As far as credit cards go, they will not take an American Express card. So you also need a readily available mobile phone. Only US-based mobile phones may be used. Your name must be associated with the mobile phone account. Landlines, Skype, Google Voice, or similar virtual phone numbers, as well as phone numbers associated with pay-as-you-go plans, cannot be used. An alternative method is now available, but it's not done instantly. Also, if you have a credit freeze on your credit records through Equifax, it must be temporarily lifted before you can successfully complete this process. My understanding is if you can't verify the credit process online manually, you can now call the IRS and go through an alternative method. So they have learned that not everybody has a cell phone in their name, not everybody has a credit card, so they are building in some workarounds, but they mostly include calling the e-help desk and telling them they tried but were unsuccessful. I do recommend that everybody try to do any of these processes online before calling the e-help desk, as they're going to start to get overwhelmed a little bit, and that could increase the hold time significantly. Okay. So let's go on here to the next slide. The alternate phone validation. So the IRS recognizes that some people do not have text-enabled cell phones in their name. They might be in a spouse's name or under the business. In that case, you can request a postcard be sent to your address of record with a confirmation code. Once received, you should be able to enter a text-enabled phone number and confirm a received text. And we just recently verified this, but the Google Voice or other text-enabled virtual phone number can be used with this method. A third option will be available in the future that will allow the user to register a landline and receive verbal security verification codes. Now, the reason Google Voice was so important is this. I'll kind of preface this with the IRS says it is against their terms of use to share your e-service credentials with anybody. Okay. A lot of practices have it where their assistant can log in under them. The recommended way is through a delegated user system. However, if you do use Google Voice, you have the option to forward any text that come into the phone to an email. So we do have people that have inquired about using a Google Voice to forward the security codes to their staff to facilitate a login. I'm not saying that's recommended, not saying it's not recommended. It's a question I get a lot, so I'm addressing it in the presentation. I was also on a presentation with the IRS, in which case Bank of America and a lot of these other folks were asking that question of the IRS. Could they use the virtual enabled phone? So it's a question that the IRS has fielded, and apparently they acquiesced and gave us the ability to verify the Google Voice. Again, you can't use a Google Voice number or a Skype number through the automated process online. You have to request the postcard, put the phone number in. When the postcard comes, you'll validate it against that number itself. Okay. Username, password, and PIN rules. So nothing with the IRS is easy, and of course, here's their list of password rules that are a little, I guess, overboard in my opinion, because the harder you make it, the harder they are to remember. And under the current system, they made you change it every 180 days. So it cannot be an email address, and it cannot include your social security number. Passwords. Passwords must be a minimum of 8 and a maximum of 32 characters long. They must contain one of each, a lowercase letter, an uppercase letter, a number, and a special character, but not any of the arrow signs as valid characters. I always tell people I know the exclamation point, the pound, and the dollar sign are all successfully used. People that have trouble remembering, my recommendation is you replace an S in your password with a dollar sign. It's an easy way for you to remember the character and where it goes. Okay? So passwords may not match any of the last 24 passwords you've chosen. So not only did the IRS list all these things, but you couldn't match any of the other 24 passwords. You also can't match it to any of the strings inside your password. So for example, if your password is Daisy123, they would not let you use Daisy or 123 again in those 24 passwords. They actually looked for matching strings. What they didn't want was for somebody to do Daisy123, Daisy124, Daisy125, so they prevented that from being done. Your password may also not match your username, first name, last name, or social security number. Passwords may not contain strings of 3 or more consecutive characters. Example, 3 A's in a row or $3 signs in a row. Passwords must be changed every 180 days or they will expire. If your password expires, you will need to go ahead and reset your password, wait on a confirmation letter, and it will take, again, 7 to 10 business days to get that. The PIN numbers, as discussed, must be the 5 digits, and usually it's the first 5, last 5 of your social or the zip code. Okay, we mentioned it earlier, the IRS is consolidating logins. Once the new system is launched, the IRS will combine the logins for e-services, get transcripts, different than transcript delivery system, online payment agreement, identity protection PIN, and e-postcard. For some reason, the PTIN application are excluded from the new system, at least in the initial launch. The IRS announced that once the systems are combined, the e-services username will become the primary for the account if a user has multiple accounts. When the new system is launched, the e-services username will become the overall username, and the IRS will force a password change at that time to consolidate all the accounts. The best thing about the new system, I think, you no longer will need to change your password every 180 days. So joyous relief with that, because it sure was hard to keep coming up with new passwords every 180 days. Passwords are not to be shared. So this is directly from the IRS e-services terms of use. The member account password and security. As part of the registration process, you selected a username, password, and PIN. You are responsible for maintaining the confidentiality of this information. While it may be necessary to disclose your username or PIN to an IRS employee or other individual, you agree to not disclose your password to anyone. You are fully responsible for all activities that occur under your password. IRS personnel do not have access to your password and should never ask you for it. People often ask, is it illegal to share the password with my staff or with their own staff? The answer is no, but it is a violation of the terms of use, and you could be banned from using e-services if caught. So one of my users called me up and said that he got suspended from e-services for 60 or 90 days. And it went like this. He called the IRS and was upset that he had to call directly and his assistant couldn't call up in reference to his account for him. So at that time, he told the IRS that his employee has full access to all of his credentials at e-services, at which time the e-service person said, you're not allowed to do that, okay? And it probably would have been dead with that. He then proceeded to say, who are you to tell me who I can share my passwords with? And at that time, they were locked out of the system for, it was 2 or 3 months. So just kind of leave you with the information I have and let you make your own decisions on this. You know, look at it and make the decision for your own organization. How to apply for an EFIN. First, you need to log into e-services. So we went in how to get the e-services account. You click on the application. You select new application. You can also save a partially completed application and return to that one at a later time. Make sure you complete your application. And by doing that, that means you need to submit the application. Right? So just make sure that in order to submit, they ask for your PIN number. So if you don't submit it, it didn't get submitted. Once you have an application that's already been accepted and you want to update the address or say add a delegated user, you go into the application, make the changes you want, and you go to submit application and resubmit it. Usually those changes are effective immediately. If there's any problems, call the e-help desk with that one as well. And if you are not a Circular 230 tax professional, a CPA, attorney, or EA, you must submit your fingerprints. So if you are not a CPA, EA, or attorney wanting access to IRS E-Services, they are going to send you a fingerprint card. I've heard that you might be able to go to like a UPS store and do electronic fingerprints now where you give them a code. But when I did it 6 or 7 years ago, you needed to go in and get fingerprinted. It takes, I want to say, 4 to 6 weeks for the fingerprint process to take place and the compliance check, which is the one listed at number 6. So if you wanted right now to get an EFIN and you've never had an EFIN and you're not an EA, CPA, or attorney, you probably would not have an EFIN in time for January 1. You would probably get your EFIN sometime end of January, even into February, as right now is the busiest time for EFIN requests. If you request your EFIN over the summer or right after tax season, the wait time minus your fingerprints generally takes a week to 10 days. I had several attorneys call me in May and want to do the EFINs under their social because they didn't need their fingerprints. They all had got their completed EFIN in less than 2 weeks because nobody's applying for EFINs in May, except the e-service users. So to pass the suitability check, this may include a credit check, a tax compliance check, a criminal background check, and a check for prior noncompliance with IRS e-file requirements. Like I said, as to date, our software has over 2,000 users, 2,000 independent logins to get into e-services. As far as I know, I only have 3 people that have not been able to get into e-services. And the only thing I can gather is they failed something in the suitability check. Either they owe the IRS some money, and if you owe the IRS $100, they're not going to lock you out of the account, because I know people that have had that and no problems. But I think if you go into a severe non-compliant status as a tax professional or an EFIN holder, they will suspend some of your accounts. And then the other thing is there could be something on a criminal background check or something else out there. So just keep that in mind. Okay. And here is the main e-services page. And if you look at the left-hand side, the menu under services on the left-hand side and the links that are in the main web page themselves are generally identical. And as you see, there's application in both, remove affiliation, reporting agent e-services, and transcript delivery system. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move on. We're going to look at this page here again in just a minute. Delegated users. So if you have a staff member or you work for somebody and you don't want to get an EFIN, or maybe you're prohibited from getting an EFIN, if somebody who has access to the transcript delivery system already wants you to have access, they can make you a delegated user. Okay? A delegated user can use their parent member's CAF number to access any transcripts that are approved under that CAF, or they can get their own CAF. Okay? And the CAF number is a number that you'll get from the IRS the first time you submit a power of attorney or an 8821. It's just another number the IRS gives you that they list all your power of attorney and 8821 authorizations under. Okay? And I'll give you an example of how this works. My wife is not a tax professional in any way, shape, or form. Okay? We signed her up for an e-services account, okay? And I assigned her as a delegated user. So she is a delegated user under my EFIN and can access any transcripts I have access to, or she can get them under her own CAF number by getting assigned to 8821. Not only have I tested that on my own, we have 5 or 6 users out there that have people in their firm that are doing that. So if you have a staff member that you don't want to share passwords with, assign them as a delegated user, give them your CAF number, as there's no restriction of sharing your CAF number with somebody. They can then go into e-services and download any transcripts you have a POA or 8821 under using your CAF because they're under your delegated user list. So that's the workaround to share passwords with. Okay? And to assign a delegated user, just log into your e-services account and click on the EFIN application you would like to add them to. Presumably it'll be listed. If it's the first time you're doing an application, you can add a delegated user at that time. Okay? And they only need to be delegated on one to get access. So if you have 15 EFINs, don't add them to all 15. Just add them to any one. Just make sure they know which one they're added to, so that's the one they can select under organizations. Okay? And here's what you do. This is after you've selected Log into e-services. You've clicked on applications, you've clicked on the application you want, and you then click on delegated users. Okay? There's also everything else over here on the left-hand side, and as you see, the second from the bottom of the links above self-certification is application submission. So anywhere in here, you can go in and check or change something, and then just do the application submission, and it'll submit that information. For example, an address change. If you look about halfway up, there's EFIN status. EFIN status will show you how many returns have been filed under that EFIN for the past 3 years. So that's another good tool. Occasionally, where it says services authorized for, sometimes transcript delivery system isn't checked, so you may want to check that one as well. Mostly it's checked by default, though. All right, go on to the next page. This is the list here of what you'll need to put in for a delegated user. You see that I've assigned Rebecca Nemeth and Laura Thompson both as delegated users under me. Okay? And all you really need is their first name, last name, and social, as social is what ties the customer to the e-service user to that other EFIN. All right, the CAF number. To request a CAF number, complete an 8821 or 2848 on someone, taxpayer, spouse, self, etc., and fax it to the IRS, the number listed in the instructions. They are supposed to send you a letter with your CAF number within 30 days, but oftentimes the letter is never received. The letter is only sent after the first request. So my best practice, if you don't already have a CAF number, okay, is you submit a power of attorney or 8821 for someone. I generally recommend you do it for somebody, your child, a spouse, somebody other than yourself. But if you don't have an option, you can do it under yourself. I've just found that sometimes they don't process the ones under you directly, but they're supposed to. Okay, so you call the practitioner line 2 to 3 days later. This is the one time you're not going to call the e-help desk. For some reason, CAF numbers, they don't have access to CAF numbers at the e-help desk. You actually have to call the priority practitioner line. PPL, PPS, it's known as different things, but you call them 2 to 3 days later and advise them you forgot your CAF number. Do not tell them you just applied, or they will tell you to wait 30 days and call back. You call them up and say, I forgot my CAF. If they say you don't have a CAF number, wait a couple more days, because it's however long it takes the CAF unit to process that 8821 or 2848. IRS Gov states you can call PPL at any time and retrieve a forgotten CAF. So if you're somebody that has one and forgot, or not sure if you have one, just next time you're on the phone with a practitioner line, ask for the CAF number. Okay? And let's see here. In rare instances, a user can have multiple CAF numbers. This is from the old days, over 10 years ago. The IRS has been trying to consolidate everyone down to just one CAF number. Okay? Caution. A business can also be issued a CAF number, but the business cannot get access to transcript delivery system, only individuals who work for a business. Be careful not to list your business CAF on the 2848 or 8821 because you will not get access to the transcripts. Also, make sure you only use the individual CAF when using transcript delivery system, or all requests will fail. Okay? What that says is if I work for ABC Tax Service and I fill out an 8821 and list the business on the 8821, I'm going to get a CAF number for the business. If I then go into transcript delivery system and list that CAF number as me as the individual that has access, every one of my CAF checks is going to fail, because you can only pull transcripts electronically with an individual's CAF number, not the business's CAF number. So I hope I've made that clear. There's always a lot of confusion on that, but you can have a CAF assigned to you as an individual and your business. In transcript delivery, they only accept the one that is listed as you. If you are a lady or a man who happens to change their name, if you change your last name, the IRS sometimes will cancel out your old CAF and issue a new CAF. So if you have gone through a name change and start to see something happening or lose access, you're going to need to call the e-help desk and have them help you sort your CAF number out. In that case, you do want to call the e-help desk. And if you get stuck, call me. I've helped several people get through that. It's probably the most difficult issue people have with e-services. All right, so a couple things I want to show you about the main screen here when you log into e-services. If you can see transcript delivery system as an option, you now have access. Okay, so I've showed you how to log into e-services, get the account, complete the EFIN, or be assigned as a delegated user. If you follow those instructions and do not see transcript delivery system, you should call the e-help desk. Sometimes it's as simple as they just never flick the switch on their end. Here's the best practice. If you call the IRS, all right, and they say that they have activated transcript delivery system for you, say, can you please wait a second, let me log in and confirm that. I've had several people that have hung up, then tried to get in, and had to get back on hold to call them because it didn't work. So just confirm it while you're on with them to see if it's in there, okay? Note, if you click on forgot password or your password expires, also, if it's a brand new account and you haven't received your confirmation letter, you will be able to log into e-services, but the transcript delivery system will not be available until you enter the confirmation code. So several things happen when you can access e-services, but they've restricted access to other things in the system. So if you forgot your password, you clicked on Forgot Password, or you just signed up for e-services and haven't put your confirmation letter in, the only two links you will see is Application and Registration Services. Okay? If you go in and complete an EFIN application, you can complete the entire application or go in and change an application. However, this is important, they will not let you submit it. So you have to save it and wait for that confirmation code. The next thing is transcript delivery system will disappear. You're prevented from having access anytime you're waiting on that confirmation code letter. The good news is with the new system, supposedly you can reset your credentials immediately through verifying the phone number within just a couple of minutes. So hopefully sometime in 2017 we won't have to go through the 7 to 10 day wait, but currently it still exists. Okay, new system will allow immediate password resets. Under the old system, if you forgot your password or let it expire, the IRS would mail you a new confirmation code, which took up to 14 days. The new system will allow immediate password resets. That's huge. All right, the dreaded confirmation letter. The confirmation letter should become a thing of the past unless you are doing the alternative verification process due to a lack of a cell phone in your name or financial history on your credit report to validate your identity. So that'll be nice to see that go away, except in those other circumstances. Okay. Now, what the new security when it comes out in 2017 will include is this. When the IRS launches the new system, a text will be sent to your registered text-enabled phone number each time you log in. A new security code will need to be entered each and every time you log into e-services. This prevents someone from accessing an e-services account if they have the username and password. Here is the screen. Okay. And just a reminder to everybody, make sure you fill out your polling questions. I think we've only had 1 of 2 go out, so just a reminder on that. But here's what the screen will look like. I have tested this extensively on the beta system at the IRS, and it generally can take anywhere from an instant text to 2 or 3 minutes. Okay. For those of you that are using our software or somebody in your office is, this is how our software will handle it. This isn't the software demo, but I get this question a lot of times when doing the presentations about e-services. The Pro Plus and Executive products will work exactly as they always have, except the following screen will pop up every time a transcript request or CAF check is made. During testing, THS was able to stay logged in for several hours, completing a large number of transcript downloads under one login. So I've been able to download upwards of 10,000 transcripts logging into the system one time. And yes, there are people, there's at least one business we know of that requests on average over 100,000 transcripts every night. They're one of the large resolution firms. So there are people pulling large numbers of transcripts currently. The executive version of our product may be able to auto-import the security code into the software automatically. So in that case, you would just register an email with the software on your computer, and it will extract the security code without you having to go through the extra step. Okay? And we're pretty much here at the end. I tried to time it exactly there at 10 minutes till, and it looked like we hit it. But I did want to open up the floor for any questions if Mitch kind of wants to take over. And I was going to go over just a couple things here. We have additional free information can also be found at taxhelpsoftware.com. I've helped several hundred people get signed up with e-services, and part of that is we have a web page called e-service help page. There are people at the IRS that actually have referred people to our website because it's a better tutorial of how to log into e-services. This presentation will also be posted up there as well. I kind of touched on our product, and I'll do my little plug here if you're interested in trying the transcript downloader and the report generator. All you need to do is go to taxhelpsoftware.com and use the coupon code THS trial, case sensitive, and that'll give you a 14-day trial. But make sure you're logged in and you're able to access the transcript delivery system, and maybe even already submitted some power of attorneys or 8821s. If you need a new trial, we're always happy to send those out. So without further ado, I'll open the floor to questions.
All right. Well, we have so just as a reminder, if you look at that GoToWebinar panel, there should be a tab that says questions, and if you have any, type them in there. So let's see. All right, the first one, if you are added as an EFIN as a delegated user, do you need a CAF number for yourself before the IRS will allow access to the transcript services?
You don't need a CAF number to access transcript delivery system, but in order to download a transcript, you'll either need to use your parents, whoever lets you use the whoever you're listed under as a delegated user would have to provide their CAF number, which would give you access to anybody they have a power of attorney for or an 8821, or you would have to get an 8821 signed in your name, and at that point, if you haven't requested one in the past, they would issue you a CAF number at that time and follow the instructions in the presentation on how to get that. It generally takes 3 to 5 business days to get a CAF number. It takes as long as it takes for them to process the 8821 for them to assign a CAF number.
Okay. Let's see. There's a couple questions that are talking about THS, but we'll wait till we start going through the demo, and then we'll answer those ones.
Gotcha. Oh, and I did have one more thing to add. I didn't put it in the presentation. I meant to. Tax Help Software also offers free phone support and by email as well. If you'd like to call us, if you get stuck in any step of this process, even if you don't use our product, we'll help you get in. My feelings are the more people that use services, the more people will probably use our product. So we do it as a free service, and I have helped people that have not bought the product get into e-services. You can reach us at 404-910-3605, or you can reach us at info, I-N-F-O, at auditdetective.com. And if you go to taxhelpsoftware.com, all the contact information is there as well. And we have an EA full-time on staff that does nothing but answer questions by phone. December is our busiest month of the year, so email may be the best to schedule an appointment. But you know, we answer the call. If we're not already on a call, we answer the phone. So, and go ahead, Mitch, if you have any other questions.
I had a question. One question was about the password. So when they switch it to the new authentication, are they going to? You don't have to track the password or when the 180 days, right? Is there going to be a prompt or something that comes up?
Correct. So as soon as they actually launch the new system, the full new system where they combine the online payment agreement, get transcripts and e-services all into one, when that happens, you'll need to reset your password the first time that system is launched, the next time you log in, and whatever password you use, in theory, is never supposed to be reset. You can always change it, and you can forget it. So the 180 days no longer applies. At least it doesn't in the initial things that they've sent out to us. And it's not that they didn't mention anything. They specifically said you'll no longer have to change your password anymore because they're sending the security text to your phone. So what that happens is, if I were to give Mitch my e-service credentials, it doesn't do him any good unless he has my cell phone. And that's what the IRS is trying to prevent here. That's also how they're trying to prevent people from sharing passwords with their staff by tying it to the cell phone. So I hope that answers that question.
Okay, cool. You talked about the flow chart, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, because there's one question. There's a couple people who it seems like they should probably take a look at the flow chart, and that should help you be able to figure out who you need to call and.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we don't really have time to go through everybody's.
Yeah, I listed all the phone numbers for who you need to call for different steps of the process. So take a look at the flow chart, and that should be able to walk you through the process if you have any questions.
Yeah. All right. Let's see if I can find one more here. I just became an EA. I do not have an EFIN and work for my husband that has an EFIN. Should I get an EFIN for myself, or should I ask my husband to list me as a delegate?
I would do both. I would have him list you as a delegated user. Of course, it's going to take the same 7 to 10 days either way if he doesn't remember his password, but I would also apply under your social security number, do an EFIN under your social as a sole proprietor. And the reason for that is, no matter, if he sells the business, you would still have access to the transcript delivery system. I also had a firm call me the other day where their EFIN had been spoofed. So somebody used it for fraudulent purposes. The IRS immediately assigned a new EFIN to them. But what that did, though, was it wiped out all their delegated users under the old EFIN. And because it didn't have the 5 e-filed returns. So the IRS had to manually go in and took some phone calls to reassign everybody in, but if those people had had it under their social, they would have had uninterrupted services to transcript delivery. So I always recommend delegated users your quickest way to get access if you're an EA. However, I always recommend you take the extra time to do it under your social.
Okay, cool. Have you ever heard of anybody being able to get on the Get transcripts with a tablet, or do you have to be on a computer?
Get transcripts will work. You can actually, so tablets are twofold. One, they're either Android, Windows, or Apple. You can get into e-services with Internet Explorer, Chrome, Safari, and for the most part, most everything will work. You can usually get transcripts. However, Chrome, I know, has problems downloading them. But depending on your tablet and the type of it, I do have people that successfully get on the tablets. Personally, with our software, it has to be Windows 7 or above. It won't work on those Windows RT tablets that they phased out a couple of years ago. But I do have people that access from a tablet. But you know, just be advised you'd be subject to maybe having issues or them not rendering right on the tablet.
Okay. All right, let's see if I can find one more here. That should get us to 3 o'clock.
And actually, and maybe the question was the Get transcript system for individuals. Get transcripts does work with any web browser. It's e-services that struggles. So the Get transcript interface for the taxpayer, you can access it from any tablet, or at least I know for a fact on the iPad. I've got an Android, and then the Windows, I don't specifically have a Windows tablet, but it should have Windows 10 on it. It should download. So Get transcripts, no problems with. You could even do it on your phone if you wanted.
Okay. A couple people are asking about the handouts. If you look at the GoToWebinar panel, you're typing in the question, so look above it or below it. There should be a section that says handouts, and you got to click into that, and it'll be on there. Last question. What are the steps to add a delegated user?
Let me go back here into the presentation. Let me find the page here real quick, and I'll go back over that one. It's that one can be a little bit confusing. So, all right. What I'm going to do is close the presentation, but then I'm going to open it back up. So give me just a second. All right, and you should be able to download the presentation too, which also has some of the specifics.
Yeah.
So give me a second, and I'll do from current slide. All right, so there's two ways to do a delegated user. If somebody's applying for an EFIN the first time, you just add the delegated user to that person at that time. Whoops, I jumped all over. Okay, so if you already have an EFIN application that's completed, what you're going to do is log into e-services. You're going to select any organization and then select application. I'll show you it right there. Sorry, it's skipping around on me a little bit. But on the main e-services page, what it'll ask for, let me show you here. There it is. So you're going to click on application once you log in, and it'll show you a list of applications. Okay. Then you'll come in, and this list will pop up. You then click on the delegated users, and this is what the page looks like. I will tell you, make sure when you log into this page, if you see at the bottom where it says Add, at the lower left-hand corner, when you put the person's information in, make sure you add them. Sometimes people put the information in and they hit Next and it doesn't save it. There's a Next button below the Add and Clear button, and there's also a Save button. You have to make sure you add somebody. Once you add them, you'll see them in the table above. So if you see them in the table above, you know that they've been added. Once that's been done, you then go back to the main page. And on the list of links on the left-hand side here, about 7 below delegated user, you see application submission. Click on application submission. It'll ask for your PIN number. So you have to put your PIN number in, and you'll hit submit. And you can submit an original application or anytime you change information in the current. If it's a new application, it'll still take a little while for it to get approved, whether or not they're waiting on fingerprints or not. But if you already have an approved EFIN, it generally lets the changes take effect immediately and definitely within 24 hours. So any other questions while we're in here about this?
No, I think that's it.
All right. I will say if you're an EA, CPA, or attorney, and you apply for transcript delivery under your social as a sole proprietor, about 90% of the people, once their EFIN is approved, the IRS forgets to turn transcript delivery system on. So almost 100% of the time you need to call the e-help desk once your application's been approved and say, hey, I'm an attorney, CPA, or EA. I applied for an EFIN, but it didn't give me transcript delivery access. They'll then open it up, get it, and again, make sure you verify while you're on the line with them that that's done, so you don't have to call back again. So.
All right. Well, I think that'll about do it for the educational part of the webinar then. So thank you guys all for coming, and like I had mentioned earlier, we do have that event coming up this January, so if you're interested in learning about marketing and technology for the tax resolution industry, Roger will be there. You can come. It'll be an opportunity to come and meet him and talk to him and ask him questions for 3 days. And yeah, it should be a great event. So it's January 18th, 19th, and 20th in Orlando, Florida. And you can find all the information if you go to astps.org or give us a call. But if you guys want to stick around, Roger's going to jump right into the demonstration of the tax help software.
And just to make sure everybody knows, this is completely optional. The training we do is always just, for the training of people. So you've earned your credits if you logged off at this time. And if you want to learn more about our products, or if you're a current user, I'll kind of go over, some of the new features. And without any more, this is the dashboard of our new executive product. So if you go in and get your e-services access and transcript delivery system, what we've kind of come up with is a system where you can now import one person or 100 or 1,000 people. We've had as many as we've had firms import as many as 3,000 taxpayers into the dashboard. And I'll kind of show you some of the things you can do, but at the end of the day, what this will allow you to do is check for audits before they happen. It'll let you track your estimated payments. It will, the reports themselves cover about 35 different sections for individuals and businesses, including payroll. We have bookkeepers that use our payroll portion to track whether the payroll returns have been accepted, look for audits before they occurred, and you can, in essence, start proactively managing your client list for issues and increase your revenue opportunities by using the software. So we do sell a basic version of the product that is $315 with a discount code. If you don't already have a discount code, let us know. That's the one that you get to try on trial. Both the Pro Plus version, which is basic, and the executive version, both download transcripts at the same speed, and they both generate identical reports. Okay? The biggest difference is this. The dashboard for executive allows you to not only import everybody at one time, instead of entering each person, first name, last name, social, or business name and EIN, you can do the mass import. You can also do a mass CAF check. So what I can do is import people in, check to see who I have power of attorney or 8821 authority for. Anybody that I don't have 8821 or 2848 authority for, I can mass create an 8821 or 2848 for everybody in my firm. And as we approach tax season, you would be able to create 8821s or 2848s for anybody you want to have a power of attorney for and distribute those to your customer folders. So when the customer comes in during tax season, you would get your staff to get them signed. You have a basket, they put them in the basket. If it's a power of attorney, you have the EA, CPA attorney sign the POA. If it's an 8821, you don't need to have anybody else sign anything else, and fax those to the IRS. I always recommend you fax an 8821 or 2848 one at a time. We have had the IRS, when you send a batch of maybe 20 or 30 8821s, they only process a few off the top and then kind of seem to ignore the rest. So I know it's a little more cumbersome, but it's the IRS, it's their rules, we kind of play by them. So these will also create 433 forms. We're in the process of adding the final OIC forms to the IRS forms portion of this. It'll calculate the CSET expiration dates. If you need to calculate bankruptcy dates, we have a bankruptcy product as well. That's an add-on feature to this as well. But I'll kind of give you a quick overview of what you can look at from the dashboard here. and then I'll go into how you would bring all your tax clients in literally less than 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, and then be able to start checking them for issues that they might have and create 8821s for people you don't. So the boxes up here are our filters, and we're about to upgrade it in 2017, and the filters are actually going to be located in the column headers. So we're going to get this real estate back up here, and you're going to be able to tell it to sort very similar to how Excel and some of these reporting services like in QuickBooks and some of the other table reports work. So it's going to be a more streamlined way to generate how you want things to appear. All right, but for example, let's say we're getting near the end of the year, and I want to go ahead, I want to click on estimated payments. So I'm going to click on the estimated payment filter, and I'm going to put the number 1 in for the starting figure. So it's going to show me anybody in my firm that's made an estimated payment. Okay, now understand that you have to pull transcripts, and to pull transcripts and have them be recent, we have 2 options. You can use our auto order feature that will order transcripts for anybody you tell it to. You see our auto request column over here on the left-hand side. You can tell it to request transcripts weekly, monthly, bi-monthly, and I think we even have quarterly on there to check for the audits and update the estimated payments. In the auto order feature, one of the nice things about auto order is it will only check the last 4 years of account transcripts and any year that has an open balance or some kind of open issue or non-compliance. So you're not pulling all the way back to 2000 or 1990 every week. You're only pulling just a few transcripts for each person, unless they have 20 years worth of issues, to discover what might be occurring with their account. If you don't opt for the auto order feature, which is a $100 option on the product, you can always come into the transcript tab and tell it to request just the last 4 account transcripts for, say, all the individuals or all the last 3 years of 941s for businesses in just a couple of button clicks. And I'll show you how some of this works. Okay. Let me go ahead and clear this out, go back to our dashboard. So when you first get the software, let's say you want to import your list of clients. So I'm going to come over and click on the import list. So most tax software has the ability to export their client list. I talked to somebody that uses ProFX, I think it's ProFX with Thompson, yesterday. They actually gave us the instructions how to extract this this list. So if you have Thompson or Drake, those are the 2 that we've already dealt with so far. Drake is very easy, just do a customer export. With Thompson, you actually have to go into the data mining section and do a custom report and select each field, and you match that to the fields that we have here listed on the data you want to import. And in the rush to get ready, I don't know that I brought an import template in. I'm not going to click on the import template because I don't have the demo here, and I'm scared I would click on one that would have real people's information in it. So, but all you need to do is browse to wherever your exported customer list is from whatever tax software you have, and if you have any problems with this, please contact us and we'll help you. I hate to say it, over the years I've become an expert at Excel, and I've had to troubleshoot more than my fair share of tax softwares, so I'd be happy to help you if you need help getting exports and imports in. Most people have been able to do it on their own. But once you click on your file that you want to import in, it'll give you a list of our input fields, and all you do is map your column headers by clicking on a drop-down very easily. It's once people have clicked on the import button, we haven't had to do any support calls past that unless they physically wanted us to do it for them. So once those people are imported, then what you're going to do is come to CAF check. And what you're going to tell the system is, and I apologize if it's slow, I can't scale during a live presentation on this one, but what I'm going to do is come over and click on the filter at the top and say, show me only the people that have failed CAF check or haven't had a CAF check. Because my defaults are already selected to check back to 1990 for businesses and individuals, I'm then going to hit select all and then execute right here. When I click on execute, it's now going to check every person I want it to in my practice to see if I have power of attorney for them. Okay? Be advised, it's going to take about 30 seconds for each individual and up to a minute to 90 seconds for businesses, especially if you do all the 941s back to 1990. So this, if you're doing several thousand people, it can take the better part of a day or run overnight, or it could even run, close to a full day. So just be advised with that. If you wanted to change what years you were checking for CAF on, you either click on a business or an individual, and it brings up where you can modify what you're asking for each person. You can also, by clicking the button on the left, once you've made your choice, only update the person you have highlighted, or click on Update All Business, or in the case of personal, Update All Personal or Individuals, and it'll change the request for each and every one of those people. Okay? So let's assume we've now gone, we've come in the next day, it's done a CAF check on all of our people. So now I'm going to say, show me everybody that I have a CAF check passed on, and here's everybody that I have CAF check passed on. And just so you know, these are all fake individuals. This is my test database that I use at the shows. It's all fake data that's brought in. You can now look and say, I want to sort by who has a balance. It can now sort everybody that's passed CAF that has a balance. So I go from people having a balance of $1.2 million all the way down to 165 or even 79 cents. Okay? We show your estimated payments amount. So you're here at the end of the year, you want to know not only how many estimated payments each client has made, but the number of estimated payments. That is here as well. Okay? And anytime that you rerun reports on people, so the software in essence does two things. It downloads transcripts and then processes reports, whether it's the basic or the executive. In the executive, anytime you rerun a report, or if you have auto ordering, anytime it auto orders transcripts, it immediately triggers the request to, it immediately does the request to generate your reports after the transcripts. And you will get a view account changes. What this page shows you is anytime any one of your clients, anytime you pull a new transcript and run a report on them, it compares it to the old stuff you pulled and it looks for changes. So for example, the very first one here shows that the unemployment accrued balance went from 0 to $10,000. There's your first flag. So you would know that business name 79, which is the fake business name I made up, it now has an issue. It also looks like a couple people got collection due process notice of intent to levy. I didn't even have to go look at their data. This all popped up on its own. It will also show you filing status changes from none to something. It'll show you if it goes into or out of lien, collections, or exam, or any time the main balance goes from 0 to something or something to 0. It won't show you every time somebody makes an estimated payment, because what we found from our beta testers is it's too much data, it doesn't do you any good. So you can use it to track notices before your customer gets them. And the nice thing about what the IRS does, a lot of times the IRS lists things on the account transcripts before they occur in real life. So notices will often show up on the account transcript maybe 30 days before the letter is sent out. Sometimes it's 2 weeks, sometimes it's instantly, but you do get some lead time on those letters. And even if you're getting it in real time when the customer gets the letter, how many times does your customer actually tell you they got a letter? The nice thing about audits is this. Audits will show up in the account transcript and hence the report 30 days to 180 days before the letter goes out. We actually have people actively getting audits notifications through our system ahead of the client getting the audit notice. If that happens, you can file an amended return and put you're not currently under audit because the audit does not officially begin until the notice is issued. Okay? Now, the IRS won't accept that audit letter, but if they proceed with the audit, what you can do is tell the examiner that you self-discovered something and that's why the return was amended. In our reports, we actually score out for an individual 13 different sections for audit risk. So if you have an audit, you can check that red flag report to see where we think the audit might be and do an amended return prior to the client actually getting the audit notice. And anytime you reach out to a client ahead of time, it is worth it. It will also work with CP2000s, but your window between CP2000 notice and CP2000 letter going out is usually within 60 to 90 days. So if you're not pulling weekly or even monthly, you can have a very short lead time. But my father, Bill Nemeth, is doing a class. I think he's going to do it with Mitch coming up sometime. They haven't announced the date, but it's how to intercept CP2000s and audits and lower the penalties and interest by doing this proactively. The other thing is, if you can intercept the CP2000 before it actually exists, you can charge the customer for the amended return instead of just handing the CP2000 notice back to them and saying accept all changes because I can't do anything for you. You can always file an information return if there's additional expenses or other things, but imagine turning most or all of your CP2000s into a $100, $200, $300 revenue event. And I found if your client brings you a notice, it's your fault. If you call them, it's their fault. The difference is one's a revenue opportunity, the other one is some free labor to try to save the client. So something to be notified of there. The detecting changes is part of the basic product. One thing about the changes is this. You can acknowledge a change by clicking on it and then hitting dismiss. That change will no longer show up. Okay? Every time you pop open the software, the screen will pop up, or you can go into it through tools. But let's say you're in a hurry, you just open the software up, and you just need to check one transcript. You can click on snooze at the bottom of the change menu, and it doesn't get rid of anything. So it'll be up there until you're ready to acknowledge it. Okay? You can always click on resets. If you have any filters done, it'll reset back to everybody. If you get stuck in anything, you can hit Executive Product Support, and it'll take you to our webpage that has some webinars on it. Also tutorials as well. So if you go to taxhelpsoftware.com, we have tutorials on the product. Let's see, where are we? So we did the CAF check. So we checked to see who had CAF. Now what I want to do is hit batch update, and I want to generate an 8821 for every person that didn't pass CAF. It's almost tax season. I'd love to get all my customers into the system so I can start tracking them. Some people offer the account follow-up to their clients as a paid service. Some people do it as a value add. It's kind of however it works for your practice would be probably the best way to go with it. All right, and you can hit this drop down. Here are some of the things that you can do in bulk with our software. You can click somebody as an active client or deactivate them. Why is that important? Well, what we recommend is you deactivate clients that are no longer your clients and you want to revoke, well, actually, if you withdraw a power of attorney or 8821, it's withdraw. The client would revoke. So the software would actually let you do a mass withdrawal of either your 8821s or 2848s by merely clicking them in the system. We generate the withdrawal letters for 8821s and 2848s. We can generate one per person, or we can generate 100 different forms for 100 different people, or in the other case, we had somebody that had been doing this a long time. They withdrew around 350 2848s that they had accumulated over the years. So they went ahead and just did one mass mailing to the IRS, signed each one of the forms, but we mass generated them into PDFs. Okay. You can also tell it to mass have people auto order or not auto order if you have that as an option. You can also delete people in bulk. So my dad, when he first did the system, he imported about 1,500 people out of his Drake software, 1,500 or 2,000. He ended up having POA on over half those people, but the people he didn't have POA on were other taxpayers that other tax people represented in the office. So he just wanted to delete them out of his dashboard. So all he did was say, CAF check pass no, checked everybody by hit select all, and then he deleted them all. And then hit delete, they were out of his system. He didn't even have to filter them out going forward. But in this case, I'm going to click on 8821, select all, and go. The first time you do it, you're going to want to make sure you fill the information out. We have 3 different types of 8821s and 2848s we create. We have tax matters for individuals, business, and estates and trusts. If you're doing estates and trusts, we did notice a glitch the other day, but the good news is it will be pushed out on Friday and fixed. I don't have any estates and trusts, and I never tested it. So that one will be back online tomorrow. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click execute. All right, my bad. I just moved this database over from another computer, so let me do this. You can tell it where you would like to save your files. And in that case, I moved it from another computer, so it couldn't find it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say browse. I'm going to say desktop. I'm going to say new folder. And I'm going to say THS. Oops. There it is. Rename THS folders. All right. Hit OK. So now it's going to change to THS folders. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to go back here to my batch updates. CAF check pass no. I'm going to go fast, get us back to where we were, and select all and go. Right. Give it a second here. There it is. I'll do 2848s. All right, so 2848, same as the 8821s. I'm going to hit execute, and now it's going to create these 2848s for each one of these people. Okay. All right. And then here we go. It's now created 38 POAs. Now this is important, and I'll grow this up a little bit. We never tell you what you have to add as an import feature on a power of attorney 8821, 433, because what I find is anytime I make a field mandatory, people will call up and argue that address isn't mandatory, phone number is not mandatory, so we don't fill them out unless they're mandatory. So the only things that we make mandatory are the name and the identification numbers, okay? Everything else, it's up to you if you want to enter it. Now, if you're importing your businesses and your individuals, make sure they come in with the address. So they're listed here. An 8821 or 2848 coming in will not have it listed with the address unless you imported it or you add it. But as you see, we filled out everything here. We did 1990 through 2019. That's what we recommend, because with the software, why not ask for all the access? My recommendation is this, though, with 8821s and 2848s. An 8821 does not carry tax advice liability. So if you're only following up with clients, make sure you follow up with, do the 8821, because you don't even need to withdraw them technically because you don't have any liability with them. A power of attorney does carry tax advice liability with it. All right? So once those are all created, you print them out, attach them to your client's folder. All right? Now we're going to go in and I'm going to say everybody with CAF check pass yes. And I can also go in and say everybody that I did a created since yesterday, list those people. For example, if I imported a new 500 people and I want to request all their base transcripts back to 1990 on the first request, I don't want to request all 1,500 people I have in the system back to 1990, just the ones I'm bringing in to make sure I have at least one transcript for every year I have CAF on to start with. Okay? All I would do is put in yesterday's date. Because I didn't do an import, nobody would show up, but I'm just giving an example here. You then hit select all and hit execute. That will now request transcripts for everybody that has CAF check passed yes in your practice, and that'll be the base load. Now understand, it can take anywhere from 30 seconds if you only ordered a couple transcripts for somebody, up to 5 or 10 minutes if you requested all the civil penalties back to 1990. If you do all the quarterlies for a business, all the different entities, it can literally take 15 minutes for each business. But I still recommend you request all the transcripts you have available, because going forward, you just pull the ones that are recent or have issues, and the software will look for the changes for you, but it has to have a base transcript in order to do that. Okay? I'm not going to hit request because we've got all fake transcripts in here. Once the transcripts are requested, if you have the auto order feature, you simply come down here, you enable automatic ordering. I do it every week. And then you can do what's called a full refresh, where it will request all the transcripts you have for that person all the way back. So that way it'll update the wage and incomes if maybe something got added to it. And our changes do not detect changes on wage and income transcripts. The software is not good enough to detect any changes to wage and income at this time. Okay? Not saying we're not working on it, but it's at this time. I always recommend you set it to launch in the evening on auto order. If you run it during the day, it will run in the background, but it can be intensive. The software has the ability to download between 8,000 and 12,000 transcripts in a 24-hour period. The tax resolution firm that downloads 130,000 transcripts a night on average, they actually have 15 to 20 different lawyers at any given time and EA CPAs. It's actually running 15 to 20 different instances of the software on their main server requesting transcripts. It's a custom application, but at the same time, it's the same brains that are in this one. It's just they integrated it into theirs. Once the transcripts are requested, and let's say you now want to start looking at a person specifically, I'll open up Roger and Rebecca Nemeth. Okay? So you open up Roger and Rebecca Nemeth, and if you notice, you have all these tabs up here. What the tabs now do is they represent pretty much every page that's in our PDF report, they show in tabular format now. So instead of looking at the PDF report, you can just come through the tabs. One of the neat things is you can look at, for either Roger and or Rebecca, in our case we filed married, file, and joint, so it lists both sets of transcripts, even though identical, by name, by year. You can compare any line item from the transcript that's on the return transcript compared to the other previous 3 years. This is a great way to detect if there is any great way to detect if there's any missing credits or deductions. This, in essence, is the big green box's refund credit checker. Okay, and then we can do things like you can now link the spouses, which we already linked that one together. You can look at all your notices. So let's say I've already looked and my client is supposed to be making estimated payments, but on the main dashboard I noticed they haven't made any. I would come in here and I would look at and I would say, okay, what's the last payment made? And I may find an estimated payment that's been misapplied. It also shows a list of all notices issued, and if you click on this, it will open up our auditdetective.com page that has a lot of information. It lists all the notices. Now, I will tell you something. The IRS has workflows for every IRS notice on their website. So when we take you to Audit Detective, these links all go directly to irs.gov. Okay? No big secret here, but we'll give it a second. See if it'll take us there. There we go. So it took us to our understanding a CPO 7 notice, okay? Understanding our CPO 2H notice. So you actually get to have the IRS workflows in here. We are very close to being able to add on the main page here. Oops, there's my computer. Internet Explorer stopped working. We're going to add the ability to take notes and create task lists for each and every customer. So you will be able to track any tax resolution cases or any follow-up on these people in the very near future. You also have the ability to upload documents. We allow the ability to upload any document into the database. Okay? If you wanted to see specific changes, where I showed you the change menu before, this will show you any changes from new transcripts to old transcripts. In our case, fortunately enough, we don't have any changes. And then we list any businesses associated with the husband and wife. We can also click on any one of these. We'll link back to it, and then the business opens up. Okay. You can also request individual transcripts for each person or business by logging directly in. You can check their CAF, generate them. You can validate to see if the social matches the name. If you have CAF on them, kind of a mini little CAF check. You can assign who the business is assigned to, and you can generate any of these forms. And for business, we do the 2848, 8821, the withdrawal forms, and we do 433Bs and 433Ds. The OIC forms should be out on one of the next few releases right here at the end of the year. If you order the executive product before January 1st, you get IRS forms for free for the first year. The Pro Plus product, the basic product, is $315 a year. The executive product is $540 a year. If you're upgrading from the Pro Plus to the executive, it's what we do is we cash in your Pro Plus license for any days remaining. So if you have 180 days until your renewal, we give you half of what you paid towards $500. And what that $500 gets you is an executive renewal for the next year minus any credits that are left on your Pro Plus license. So if you upgrade as a current user, you'll get a 1-year license, and we'll subtract whatever is left on your Pro Plus license from $500. And then every year going forward, renewal on Pro Plus, at least for the upcoming year, will be $300, and for executive will be $500 plus any of the upgrades. The upgrades are auto order, IRS forms, which is currently free, and if you use any of the ASTPS coupon or discount codes or go to the marketing seminar, anybody that comes to that marketing extravaganza in Orlando, we normally don't do trials on the executive product, but anybody that goes to Orlando, we are going to do 30-day executive trials to anybody that's signed up for the marketing extravaganza. So if you're signed up for the extravaganza and wanted to do the 30-day executive now, let us know. We'll get you signed up. If you're a current user already of Pro Plus, you also are entitled to a 30-day trial as well. We don't piggyback them and do 60-day free trials. But if you didn't get enough out of the first trial, please let us know. And I'm going to show you some of the forms we do for individual. So we do all the 433 forms. And one of the things we found was we contacted some of the largest tax resolution firms in the country. Myself and the other developer worked for the largest resolution firm at one time. So we saw workflows that worked for them. We've talked to other resolution companies that do mass 433s and OICs and those kind of things. And what they all asked for was this. We noticed that most of them were not using commercial solutions to do the 433s because they found it faster to do them by hand than it was to do them with the software that basically was TurboTask-esque like. You know, basically ask questions like, how many dependents do you have? You have 2 dependents? Great, tell me about the first dependent. What's his first name? What's his last name? In ours, what we've done is we've created tabs. So if you need to know how to fill out a 433, you go to an ASTPS bootcamp, you learn how to do it. You go to an NTPI class, you study and do 433s on your own. But we shouldn't need to teach how to do a 433 because if you have software do a 433 for you, if you're talking to that revenue agent or officer and they ask you a question about the 433, you better not say, I don't know, the software did my calculations. You need to know how this stuff works in order for it to work. And I'll show you a quick example here of how we set it up. So like in this case, you would just enter first name, tab last name, relationship, you pick it, birthday, claim, and on to the next one. We have tabs for each section on the 433s. We also show, let me show one thing before we do here, we auto-populate the IRS national standards to the latest numbers. And this has been one of our most popular features. So once people are input into the system, you enter their zip code. One of our biggest complaints we got from people is nobody ever puts their county on any of the data they sent out. So all you have to do is put in their zip code, hit look up by county, and there you go. I did mine. It came up as Gadsden County, Florida. Okay. Once it assigns a county, what it's now done is it has assigned the national standards. You can now put your override numbers in, and if you put an override number in, it'll save your override amount. If you unclick it, it takes it back to national standards. So if I wanted to change that to save $1,000, I could. If you want to see all of your numbers before you launch the national standards, this page will show you all of your fields. And we've tried to handle just about every scenario, and what we realized very early on is 433s are worksheets. They're not tax forms. So by that, everybody on this presentation will probably fill out a 433 slightly different, even if you went to the same class. It's not as stringent as a tax return where income A has to go in box C, that kind of thing, where it's a one-to-one relationship. Sometimes businesses, you can just add a P&L. Sometimes you can add just a spreadsheet. Sometimes you fill out the form on the 433. However you want to do it, our software does it, but it does the specifics. So we had somebody call us the other day and say, I'm currently using another provider to do 433s. One thing it drives me nuts on is you can either pick a business, or I'm sorry, in reference to cars and vehicle allowance. If you pick a vehicle, you cannot pick a vehicle in public transportation. But in the case of that person on the 433, the husband had a car, but the wife traveled into New York City via train or however folks up north do that kind of thing, and it was a public transportation. So they needed to do a vehicle and public transportation. So in that case, we gave the ability to override that figure to where you can do vehicle and public transportation, just as one example. Now, this has been one of the biggest requested features we've had. So currently, if you fill out the 433 data, we will start to tell you whether we recommend it be a currently not collectible, a standard repayment option, or an OIC repayment option. We will show you the amount of an OIC if it is above what the recommended OIC is, just to give you an idea how close you are as you process the data. So if you're 3/4 of the way through a 433 OIC, and all of a sudden you come here and you realize that they're not even close and you don't have that many more expenses, you know before all the data's in, you may want to shift your strategies and start looking at an installment agreement or one of the other options. But we do throw the flag up explaining that the offer amount is greater than the total debt. But we show you how far off it actually is. We are working on one of the very upcoming releases that more than likely it will be out before the marketing extravaganza, unless something comes up, IRS changes the system or something, where you'll be able to fill out a quick questionnaire, and it will tell you what the recommendation is without completing the entire 433. So think of it as a rough interview form you can go over with your client when they walk in to see what possible recommended option might have. And then in early 2017, after the marketing extravaganza, we've actually started working on our first server-based product, and what that'll be is a questionnaire that you will be able to send from the executive level software to the client for them to fill out data that will then come back and populate the 433. We're working on getting that to where only you and the client can see the data, and anything that passes through our server would be encrypted. We wouldn't have any access to it. It would literally just be a hub between your client and your local computer. All of our software is desktop-based. Anything you download is downloaded to your computer. So that's pretty much, there's a few more things in here that are coming. If there's something out there for tax resolution or just running your tax office better, we designed this as a tax product office, not as a tax resolution product. Now, it is a home run for a tax resolution, but we find that most of our clients, 75% of our clients, are primarily tax offices that have less than 2 or 3 enrolled agents or CPAs in them. So they're your single person operators or your very small offices, and they find that this, in essence, where a big firm would have an assistant that does all this, this is basically your virtual assistants at the cost of what an assistant would cost for just 1 week. It's going to expand the revenue opportunities in your firm. And if there's something out there that we haven't thought of that you think we can get with transcripts, let us know. I don't have any sample reports on this computer, but if you go to the website at taxhelpsoftware.com, we got full demos with the reports. And Laura's available by phone today, tomorrow, a little bit on the weekends. And I'll turn it back over to Mitch. I appreciate everybody's time. If you need any of the trial codes or anything, just fire us off an email to info@auditdetective.com, and we'll get any coupon codes that you might want, whether for purchase or for trial, back out to you. And remember, if you sign up for that extravaganza, we'll send you a 30-day executive trial as well.
All right, cool. Well, it doesn't look like there are any questions, so you just gave that you want to give that email address just one more time for anybody who needs to write down any questions?
Yeah, so you don't bother Mitch by sending a bunch of emails. It's info, I-N-F-O, @auditdetective.com. And Mitch, if you want to send an email out to everybody with my contact information, you can.
Sure.
Just, the main, I'll send you an email, and then you can just copy and paste it.
All right, sounds good.
Cool.
All right, thank you guys all for your time, and we'll see you next time.